we kicked off the Coastal Recovery Commission of Alabama back at Five Rivers, we knew there was going to be a natural amount of skepticism and confusion. We had a very fast timeline. It had to be done with our work by December the 15th.
I think the confusion was almost by design. Starting with the governor. When the governor spoke to all of us and said, I don't have any agenda on what this is supposed to look like, I'm giving it to you as a group to go out in the community and form it, that in itself creates confusion because anything can happen. And then leadership within the group, when we went to our individual communities or tables of interest, allowed it to stay broad. That's the only way you really get citizen input, is to not prejudice with the pre-statement.
I think this governor is very sincere and committed, and I understand that both candidates are committed also. But this has all the trappings of an effort that's well-intentioned, and I think it's being driven by the potential of a great deal of money, which could be used successfully. I think it's going to depend on what action items are actually recommended, and then are they going to be put into real production.
Among the many ideas that are emerging from this effort already, transformative ideas, are some themes. Three that we'll mention today are: one, the need to rebuild the brand of the Gulf, to rebuild the trust of our seafood and know that the Gulf is safe. Second, the opportunity to regionally collaborate. And third, we have to find a solution to the coastal insurance crisis.
Insurance is a fabric that it's something that we all have to have at some point in time. And especially when you start talking about property and liability insurance. You may walk around without life insurance, you may walk around without health insurance, but if you drive a car, if you get a mortgage, you're going to have some insurance. The availability and affordability is going to affect you. And if you live in South Alabama, then we've got additional risk. So that's the big deal with insurance, and it touches everybody's lives, individuals and the corporations, businesses, because they can't put a stick in the ground before they get insurance. So there's no development without the insurance piece to it.
For this process to work for the city of Orange Beach and Baldwin County, and I think the region, we can't be dealing with the small stuff. We got to be thinking big. It's a big picture. Today, the next 20 years. We got to look at projects that generate revenue. The dollars need to come in, go straight to something that makes $100 for every dollar invested, or it needs to go into the infrastructure to support those projects that generate $100 for every dollar invested. And then secondly, there has to be a synergy, in my opinion, between Mobile, Baldwin County, and whatever counties down here on the coast that would be involved, to where we create a greater good or a greater whole because of our figuring a way to work together. And in no way are we looking at what's best for us. It's what's best for my neighbor, because if it's best for my neighbor and that's reciprocal, we're both going to be elevated beyond what we could ever do trying to compete with each other.
People are starting thinking regionally, and if this exact thing happens regionally, it impacts me, whether it's my industry or my livelihood, however you define it, specifically in this area in a positive way, we get on board with it.
The seafood industry, particularly the producers and the onshore processors here on the coast, were really on the front lines of the damage, the immediate damage from the spill. And so we're wounded and still bleeding, and yet people are asking us, how do we fix ourselves?
The risk management and risk assessment is such an important part of this whole discussion, that people are just simply not realistic about what the risks are. And because it has this impact on the industry, we're seeing an enormous problem, either in the fear of marketing the seafood, or the fear that we're never going to be able to market the seafood because people are never going to trust it coming out of the Gulf of Mexico.
Well, where we're at today is seeing light at the end of the tunnel, I think, for most of us. First came the excitement, look at what we get to do. Then came the confusion, exactly what is it we're supposed to do? And now starting to come the clarity. We're solidifying things down from a big basket full of items down to picking out the most important things in that basket and how do we drive those forward through the duration of this exercise. So I think we're seeing clarity.
Long term, people are hurting, but they will recover, and we will do our best, and hopefully the Commission will actually help us with that as we move forward, because people need to know that Alabamians are strong and they will be resilient. And ultimately, as we recover, I think the key is just the fact that we pull together and look for your fellow neighbor and your fellow business person, and let's make sure that they don't fail.
The ideas that have been talked about and the strategy of moving forward is very exciting. It's an opportunity of a lifetime we have here. You know, South Alabama is on the move, and we need to be smart, and we don't need to be greedy. We need to think for our kids and our grandkids.
Out of this, I think we can have a plan and have some progress towards being much more economically competitive and much stronger overall, societally, economically, environmentally on our coast.
As we continue our journey toward December the 15th, and we have that plan we call the Roadmap to Resiliency in the hands of the governor and the governor-elect, I think the excitement will continue to build as we lay out a regional vision for what it means to build a better Alabama than it was before the oil spill.